Hi everyone, today I'm doing something a bit different and reviewing a block of games together. So today I'm looking at at 7 separate simple dice games. Let me know what you think of this format, because I understand a lot of people watching these videos want to look at specific games and don't want to watch a whole bunch together. But it's a way to get back to kind of make up for my back catalogue of games I need to review, and they're certainly mounting up. So I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but I'll hopefully give a bit of a gist about how the game plays and my general opinion on them. So the first one I've got is King of Tokyo. King of Tokyo is a massively popular game by Andrew Garfield, who designed Magic the Gathering. It's a game where you are basically these huge kaiju monsters in Tokyo, and you're trying to either dominate the city and get points that way, or you're trying to destroy all your competition. And to do that, you're going to roll a bunch of dice, Yahtzee style, and either kind of save up the paws in order to smash your opponents, or save up these power points in order to get new upgrades to your character in order to do things better than other people do. But yeah, it's very simple. I know it's very popular, especially amongst kids and things like that. And it is what it is, basically. On the face of it, it's what you're getting. Obviously, there's a bit of a pushy luck whether you want to stay in the centre and get points that way. And obviously, you're taking an absolute battering from the other players if you do so, or whether you're going to just completely eliminate all your other opponents. You've got two ways of victory there. But yeah, if you like a little dice roller and you like that Yahtzee style of things, you're probably going to enjoy this one. For me, it is a bit flat and it goes on a little bit too long for me. It's definitely outstayed its welcome, as it has got player elimination. But it is what it is. I can't really, it's not my cup of tea. Let's just put it that way. Next up, I have Picomono or Heck Meck, depending on which version you have. This is actually an older game by Rainer Knizia. As you have these bunch of tiles and again another bunch of dice, and you're rolling those dice, trying to take out certain values at a time, and adding them to your score, basically to try and mount up the pit values to get to those higher tiles, which ultimately get you more points. Every time you need to roll at least one worm, I believe. And as the game goes on, you can start stealing tiles off other players as well. It's okay, ultra basic, ultra light. Surprisingly nice production, but I think if you want to play with any relative or something like that, or elderly relatives or particularly young relatives, then it's an option. But I think there's better dice rolling games out there for me, and it's again pretty flat and not much going on. Next up, I have Roll For It. This is possibly the simplest game on this list. I'm considering they're all very simple. This one, you have another bunch of dice, and you are trying to fulfill the objectives on these different cards. So I think depending on the player count, there's a number of cards in the middle of the table with different kind of sets of dice that you need to achieve those ones that get you points. So it might say roll 4 sixes, or roll a 2, 3 and a 4, and so on. So you just keep rolling your dice and committing them to these cards until you've won a card. And obviously you can choose to change your mind and take all your dice back and go for something else. And obviously the fewer, or the less likely you are to roll something, the better points you're going to get. And it's basically a race to get to a certain amount. And that's all there is to it. So pure dice rolling, pure luck. But again, if you want to play a game that's ultra light that anybody can understand, then this is one to check out, because there's nothing more to it. So next up we got Quinto. Quinto is actually one of the founding fathers to the roll and write genre. This one, you have 3 different coloured dice, and you are rolling them, and you're picking what other colours you want. So you can pick all 3 of them, you can pick 2 of them, or you can pick 1 of them, and you're writing on your sheet on these different rows. And like a lot of roll and write, you're trying to put them in numerical order. Basically, you can't go back on yourself as you're trying to go up and up. But you are also trying to line up certain things as well, or get higher numbers in the lower kind of spots, because you get more points that way. Very simple, but it's pretty engaging because you are involved in other players' turns. And for a kind of, I said, one of the founding roll and write games, it's actually surprisingly good and it's enjoyable. And I would actually recommend checking this one out, because it's actually quite pure and doesn't pretend to be something it's not. Next up, I have Crypt, which I have to say is my favourite game from this list here. Crypt was a Kickstarter, I think a couple of years ago now, a very cheap one, which probably why I backed it, where you have, obviously you have 3 dice, and you have a bunch of cards with these different artifacts on them, and you are trying to collect these different artifacts, as you would expect with a set collection game. But the way you accumulate them is quite interesting, because you actually bid on these cards using these pip values on your dice. So say you could bid a couple of 3s on a certain artifact, and maybe a 6 on another one. And then by the time everybody's kind of gone round and they can kick you off by bidding more, you would roll the dice you've committed to them. And if you roll, I think it's if you roll equal or more than the value you've bid, then you actually get to take your dice back into your pool and obviously win the card. Or regardless, you win the card. But if you roll less than what you've bid, then you actually lose the dice from your pool to use until you sacrifice a turn and get them all back. And there's also some additional little powers you can get as well by collecting certain artifacts, and it actually works really well. And it's a really decent game, and one that I think is quite enjoyed, considering it didn't get a huge release, but I think the price point made it do quite well. But definitely one I'd play anytime, and yeah, I think it's a nice filler game. Next up, I have Machi Koro. Machi Koro is actually quite a popular family weight game, where you have a tableau of cards and you're rolling dice to trigger the benefits on those cards. So something like Space Base, this was, I think, almost the predecessor to that, which probably inspired Space Base. But for me, this one was a bit too light for me. I think I would like to try it with one of the expansions or something, because I think the base game alone is just too simple. And obviously very luck dependent, but you can get a bit of an engine going, by stacking certain cards together. Obviously to get more and more coins, to get more and more cards into your tableau, to get more points and so on. So again, pure luck, but it's okay. But as I said, with an extra rule or two, or an extra layer or two, I think it could be more interesting, but I think Space Base is probably more appealing to me. And finally, I've got Bang the Dice Game. Now, Bang the Dice Game, if you spoke to me a couple of years ago, I would highly recommended this one. But since then, it's fallen quite a bit for me. And that's probably because I find the different roles not very well balanced. So if you don't know what Bang the Dice Game is, it's a kind of a social deduction game with that Yahtzee element to it, where you're rolling dice and either shooting your opponents, or healing yourself up, or using a Gatling gun and shooting everybody. But everybody is assigned a role at the start of the game. So you've got your sheriff, who's publicly known. You've got his deputies. You've got the outlaws, and you've also got a renegade. So the idea is that the sheriff is trying to kill all the outlaws and the renegade. The deputies are trying to help the sheriff do that. The outlaws are trying to kill the sheriff, and the renegade is trying to be the last man standing. And obviously nobody knows who each other is, so you can completely lie about whose team you're on, try and bluff to the sheriff that you're on his side when really you're trying to kill him. And in theory it's really good, and it's a really good idea. And I had a lot of fun with this one over the years, but what I found is whoever plays the renegade has no chance of winning whatsoever. But maybe that's just my experience, but I played this one game probably 20 or 30 times, and the renegade has never won at all. So that kind of put me off a bit. But if you like your social deduction games and you like that Yahtzee element, also it's got some really cool player powers. Everybody's got a unique role, so it's quite interesting that way. But a nice game, but one that is a little bit flawed for me, and hence why I can't really recommend it now. But I hope, that's these 7 games, my opinion on them. Nothing outstanding for me. Certainly nothing that gets my seal of quality. But still, Crypt's worth checking out. And if you like those ultra-light games, maybe give something like Quinto and Roll for it a look. But other than that, I think these are all kind of strong passes. I hope you've enjoyed this new format. If you have, please hit like and subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos too. For everyone else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye.